This Shit My Dad Taught Me episode is brought to you by an amazing sponsor, Matthew-Stevenson.ca. He's wealth strategy. Tax smart, estate smart, legacy smart. Thank you, Matt. Hey-o!
Hey, welcome to Shit My Dad Taught Me. We have some great friends and guests in the studio today. I want to introduce everybody to Emily and John O'Brien. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for coming today.
Well, thanks for having us.
We're going to kick it off with a little tradition we have, which is a ChatGPT intro. So this is Jamie and I looking like we did our job, but really we just put some prompts into ChatGPT. So let's see how close they got. John, I'm going to actually start with you, if that's okay.
That's fine with me.
So, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about these wonderful treats we have on the table here, and that's going to be Emily's domain, but we'll start with John.
That's not John on here?
No, he had longer hair back then.
I did. That was in my youth.
So we've got, and we should say too, let's start by properly introducing. This is our very first father-daughter on the show.
Hey-o.
So good for you guys.
We're very privileged
yes.
and excited to be here.
29 episodes in, and it's a first for us. So
We finally got some Shit My Dad
We've
Taught Me.
actually got a real dad and daughter here to tell us what's up. So John O'Brien, an accomplished executive, strategic advisor, Catholic leader, and mountaineer. But more importantly, a dad who's walked through life with fire with his child and stood behind her every step of the way. John is currently the CFO of the Roman Catholic Diocese of St. Catharines and the founder of O'Brien Strategic Services, a consulting practice that supports Catholic organizations across North America. He spent over 3 decades with the Diocese of Hamilton, overseeing everything from cemeteries to insurance, while also monitoring new executives and often complex world of religious governance. He's a guy who knows how to read a spreadsheet, run a diocese, climb a mountain, and maybe harvest, hardest of all, love unconditionally when life throws you curveballs.
Wow, you really did some research there.
I think I probably should have read that before I started swearing every third sentence.
Did we get it all?
That's okay. Yeah, I think you covered pretty well the gamut.
Let's go. And then there's one thing on here that's kind of a fun fact, because you two, and I don't think you know this, but you guys have some friends in common.
Yes.
You were, for many years, involved with Carpenter's Hospice.
Yes, I was.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was asked, I'm a member of Burlington Golf and Country Club, and one of my golfing friends said, who was chair at the time, said, you might be a nice fit for the Carpenter Hospice. And I knew the work that had been done because I'd had a couple of former employees actually go through the hospice and their end of life stage. So I joined around 2016 or 17 and was on the board for 7 years or so, and chaired the last 8 months, and then that was that.
So were you just leaving when I came on, probably?
Likely.
You were the vice chair and chair that left?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah, it was.
That's awesome.
Why? Because he saw you coming?
No. Like the hospice has gone through like a ton of changes, and just with things that like happen in society, there's different governance that's been put in place.
Different practices that in relation to palliative care that philosophically and
right.
I couldn't agree with. So.
Yeah. Well, we've got, we have a couple of paths that cross there, one of which is Jamie's on the board currently.
Yeah.
And then through our Burlington Dads organization over the years, we've done some great volunteer cleanups, projects, just a bunch of guys showing up with tools or paintbrushes. And we love the work you guys do.
The board at Carpenter Hospice has a very high regard for Burlington Dads because they've been very big and strong contributors to the.
And when you left, you guys left it in like fantastic shape. Like that, like financially, it's in a great position. It's been helping people on crazy wait lists for a long time. Like, it's amazing the spot that you guys left it in for us to be able to
They do amazing work. And when you look at the day in and day out experience of those nurses and those support staff and what they encounter on a day-to-day, and the accompaniment, that's probably the best word I could use for how they accompany people in their end stages of life. It's absolutely remarkable. So my hats go off to them.
Same, yeah, and such a essential part of our community. I mean, we see the wait lists and what they do to get people moving through. It's incredible the work they do. So, John, thank you so much for joining us. I got a few more questions for you as we go, but let's get back to Em.
Oh, okay.
Emily O'Brien, you ready for your ChatGPT?
I'm ready.
Let's see how it did. Emily O'Brien's story is a rare, raw example of redemption and resilience. At age 23, she was caught smuggling cocaine and was later convicted, receiving a 4-year prison sentence. During her time behind bars, something unexpected happened. She noticed popcorn was one of the few treats that brought people together in confinement. With limited spices, lemon, pepper, dill, she began experimenting. That simple idea grew into Comeback Snacks, which she has officially launched after her parole in 2018 with a mission to fight stigma, hire formerly incarcerated people, and build hope one bag of popcorn at a time. Today, Emily's brand is stocked in hundreds of outlets across Canada and the U.S. She employs people who have criminal records, works to shift public perception, and speaks about never letting your past define your future.
Yeah, well, I was actually 25 when I was arrested.
Okay. Okay. We're going to correct ChatGPT after this. So
take 23 because then it's like you're 2 years younger right now, right?
Yeah, it's going to matter at some point.
Mature student at that point.
So where do you want to start with that story? So, I'll say too, not ChatGPT, but the personal side of this is you and I got to meet each other doing some incredible work together. You were keynoting a youth retreat, let's call it. And shout out to Shannon and her team at Dare to Be Youth. You gave a really inspirational kind of fireside chat to those kiddos. I want to start there. So tell me in your own words about your story.
Well, I was 25 years old and I found myself, in the most unlikely of places, and that was going to be federal prison. And of course, when you wake up and you have a great family and a great upbringing, you never expect your life to kind of veer off in that direction. But obviously there are things in my life that I could control and things in my life that I couldn't control. Number one, I could control was my issues with substances. Number two, I could not control the fact that I was in I don't want to say full-blown relationship, but I was close to someone who ended up not having the best intentions for me and brought me on this trip. And that I could not control. I didn't organize this whole scheme. But I knew that there were things in my life that I could have done differently regarding my substance use and abuse. So that landed me with 4-year prison term. And I pled guilty and I knew that it was going to be something really good. And, shit my dad taught me lesson number one was that there has to be something good that comes out of this. And because that's just the way that I was raised. And so now it's 2025 and we're in 1,300 stores. And I've employed about 12 to 13 people that have come out of correctional facilities over the years. And I also launched an incubator earlier this year for people coming out of incarceration. And I have had 130 students that are all going to launch their own company.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
So let's rewind the tape even more because again, I'm fascinated because it's our first father-daughter podcast.
Tell us how the deal went bad.
That's right.
That'll never know.
So I want to go back to day one because obviously, John, you've got quite the provenance yourself, and you're clearly a pillar of the community, and obviously you guys have a lot of love for each other. Go back to the early days. What was it like having a daughter? What was it like growing up?
Yeah, well, Emily is a middle child of 3 daughters, and I had 4 sisters growing up. My current wife has 3 daughters. Even the dogs are female, so my standard line is that I've been breathing estrogen my entire life. But
need a testosterone shot?
There's another story about that, which I won't go into. But it was a privilege. I mean, to have, you're right, I was very involved, still am in the Catholic Church. It's in my DNA, essentially. I'm 3rd generation working for the Catholic Diocese in Hamilton, was there for 34 years, and raised, we had Alex in 85 and Emily in 88 and Heather in 91. And, it was great. Lived in West Hamilton, New McMaster in Westdale, and nice little 2.5-story bungalow. And it was, for the most part, it was really, really good. And, being a parent, it was, you go through your trials and tribulations, and, every child is different. Every child has their own interests, their own peculiarities or attributes, if you want. And so the challenge of being a parent and kind of raising 3 young women, it was actually a lot of fun over those years.
And it was a lot of fun, Em.
It was, yeah. Grew up playing sport, and that's why I love, all the sport decor around here. And sports actually taught me a lot of lessons about being in court, because it's actually the same things. You got an offense, you got a defense, you're in a court, and you might even fight with your own team, aka your legal team. Things didn't always go the way it's planned, but it actually, taught me a lot of the lessons that I learned from growing up playing competitive sport. I kind of used that in the court case.
Not just because you got put in the penalty box.
Yeah, that too.
Emily, she played rep basketball. I think all 3 girls at one point played rep basketball, but Emily was the one, she was MVP, provincial champion for Hamilton Transway, which was kind of the premier, young girls basketball program. Might still be, I'm not sure. But no, she really she had a fire. She was incredibly competitive, quick study, and just brought a lot of energy, which kind of you see before you now. But so it was a lot of fun. When getting to coach was a lot of fun, just because you have a different perspective, because there's other kids on the team, and they have different skill sets as well. And it's how do you kind of mold all these kind of individual attributes into kind of one kind of cohesive unit that, to achieve basically winning.
Yeah, he was the coach of our rep ball team.
There you go.
Too, so.
Go Dad.
I know.
Yeah.
Putting in the time. That's right.
Then, so as life is progressing then, so you get into this relationship that you said, right, that obviously had ill intent to it. What is that? Take us back to that moment. Like, how do we go from athlete, homegirl to, drifting down that path and meeting these other people? Like, what did that whole journey look like?
Yeah, so I had graduated university. I graduated with honors, and there were situations in school that, involved alcohol that weren't the greatest, but I, didn't think I was really touchable at that point, because you're like, I have my whole life ahead of me. And, I always had jobs. And so I kind of just ignored that element. And I was like, I'm passing with flying colors. Like, I'm always employed. I always volunteered. So I kind of use that as my, not excuse, but anyway. You
thought you were bulletproof.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were covering your other bases, so you were bulletproof.
Well, there you go. And then, so part of my degree was doing an internship, because my undergrad was in international development. And so I worked for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Indonesia, came back, worked a bunch of marketing jobs, and ended up living in Toronto and Liberty Village. And, that's a lifestyle where things are blend in easily with one another and things are accepted. And so when you're going through whatever it is, you can just go to a party and it seems like everything's fine because no one really notices. Right. And so I met this guy through my work. Like, I had my own company at the time, and he was allegedly sober. So we became friends. And because I knew that I wasn't where I wanted to be, but I just didn't want to really admit it. Because again, when you have your own company, you're not supposed to be weak. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to power through this and power through this period of kind of like uncertainty and whatever it was. And then I met him, and he was like, yeah, I've known him for about 8 months, and he asked me to go on a trip with him, and he booked the tickets 3 days later. And there were some warning signs, but I just ignored them because I didn't think they were that big of a deal. He helped me walk my dog, like really simple things that I thought were really valuable. But then there was like other things, like he kind of owed my company money, and there was a car that was involved that I bought from him, and I never got it. And then he also got me like gifts that I never really asked for. Like, and then one of them, he bought me the sound system that my mom found out later had like cement in the speakers. And he got me like a watch with no battery that I never asked for, and like dessert. Like, I don't drink dessert wine. Like, I don't know why he got me all these things, but I blew it off because I was like, okay, thank you for helping me walk my dog and do these things. Anyway, so he asked me to go on this trip. The 3 days into the trip the first 3 days are fine. They're fun. But then he puts me, and then I'm about to go down to the pool one day. And he's like, you're not going down to the pool today. Did you really just think this is all fun and games? And I thought, yes, I wasn't even afraid at that point. Like, I didn't think I was in danger. Like, I wasn't. So we go in the car, then we go to this house, and it looks like a bed and breakfast. And it's actually a lady comes out, and she's like an older lady. It's not like rabid dogs. It's not guns. It's like, I wasn't hurt. She's just like, thank you so much for doing this. And I guess he owed a bunch of money to them. So anyway, by the end of the week, I was strapped up with 2 kilograms of drugs. So were put on my body. He had it too, and then put on the airplane. And I told him I didn't want to do it. I told him I just wanted to go home. Like, he had my passport. When he put my passport in the safe, he had taken it at some point, so I couldn't get it back. And so on the Friday, I was like, I'm a terrible liar. And I actually tell us almost as a joke now, because like I took acting, like I did musical theater when I was young. And then as I tried to do more musical theater, I realized I was a terrible actress. I was so bad. Like I was in James and the Giant Peach, and my role was an extra with no lines. So it's like, I was like, I honestly just wanted to go home. And I knew that I wasn't like a gangster, and I just wanted to go home. And I didn't know what the repercussions were, because I didn't plan this. I wasn't like, oh, the criminal code this, right? So ignorance was not bliss, but I just wanted to go home. And then once they called us into secondary, I was like, honestly, like, just like done protecting him. But I couldn't also deliberately sabotage this operation because they weren't my narcotics. I was like, oh, help me. And then it was my fault for losing like hundreds of thousands of dollars of drugs, which is what he told me. Then I would be in like a lot of trouble. So when we got called in secondary, they asked me a series of questions, and they looked me straight in the eye. I looked him straight in the eye when he asked me if I had anything on me, because they were going to do a physical search. And I looked him straight in the eye and I said yes. And I chose to be completely like sober that day. I was like, I don't want the alcohol to try and mask what's happening, so that my body language can be the loudest language in the room. And I knew at that point, just lying to a federal agent was, telling the officer the truth was like the best feeling ever, even though I didn't really know where it was going to lead.
Did you tell the officer like the full truth? Like, hey, like I'm being forced to do this, or no, you just took it?
I just said I wanted to get away from him. And I think I was still in a bit of shock, but it just felt good to say like, yes, I have these on me, because I knew that I had to tell the truth. And 2.5 years of house arrest later, the worst period, I would say, because you're in a lot of mental anguish. You're not allowed to talk about the case. You've never been in this situation before. I was very angry. I was still in denial. I wanted revenge. And it was actually being at home and looking at old photos of like your life and where you were before and like how happy you were. That's when you know that you're actually a good person. So like looking back on the past isn't necessarily a bad thing. And that's when I was like, I couldn't live in that mental anguish anymore. And for my family as well, I put them through a lot of, it was very challenging. But I knew that I owed it to them as well, my sisters and myself to use my rebelliousness for something good. It got me into trouble in the past, but I knew that I could use that same skill set of fighting for something to do something good. And the first step of that was taking accountability. And I don't want to say surrendering, but just realizing, this is what is going to happen and it's going to be good for you. And so I saw it as an investment because, the legal fees were extraordinary. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to, drain my finances and, family luckily helped me out. But I was like, okay, if we're going to spend this amount on anything, it's going to be an investment in my sobriety and my education. And I'm going to see it as a sabbatical. So that's kind of how I reframed prison as. And once I kind of took that step in reframing it, I think that was when I was like, I was ready. I was ready for the challenge. And I didn't know what I was going to build because I'd never been to prison before, but I knew it was going to be something different and good.
What made it so expensive? Like if you're going to plead guilty to like a federal charge, what made the court case like so long and so expensive? Was it?
I think it was the 407 fees from Hamilton, the toll fees.
Not cheap.
But probably
this commercial brought to you by
because the sentencing. They probably wanted a heavier sentencing, and that's what you were probably trying to fight.
What? I have to say, even though Emily and I had some very hard conversations, in that phase, I knew which lawyer I wanted to go to. When you're in Hamilton for 30 years, you get to know who's the best of the best in certain fields. And we're really fortunate to get the legal counsel we did. And we had, Emily and I had some hard conversations, and she wanted to fight it, and I had already had a lot of sidebar conversations around what this could look like in terms of a legal strategy, and to me it was very clear cut from the outset. We're pleading guilty because you are, and we need to move beyond this. And the longer this gets played out, the longer this gets fought. Because I don't know if you recall, Emily, but the fact you got a 4-year sentence it's
crazy low.
Crazy low, because the minimum sentencing guidelines were 7.
Yeah.
I don't know what conversations took place, but I knew there were, between various legal counsels, between back and forth, there was a lot of negotiations that went on. And when he came back and said, I think we've got 4. I nearly fell off my chair. And it was like, and it was like, okay, this is the direction we need to go in. And there really wasn't, I didn't give Emily the, even though it was her life.
As heavy as that sounds, like that's really, really light for that.
For that offense, it
sure.
was, it's a
blessing.
Yeah, that's a great word for it, actually. It was a blessing because, and my boss at the time, he's now the retired bishop of Hamilton, showed up in court for Emily's sentencing that day. And her mother's there, and there was just good family. My parents were there, who were alive at the time. And, it was just, I think once the judge saw that, it was confirmation of all the discussions they had heard up until that point in time. And then that was the last time we saw her. Like, they took her away right there in handcuffs, and you never want to see that involving your child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told them I was just going to camp. I was going to be okay. Because when I was on charges, I still did some volunteering, and I ended up meeting this woman. Because my social media company, every month we'd work with like an organization and do the social media for free. And I just chose the John Howard Society. And through the John Howard Society, they had a company called Crank Coffee. I'm not Crank Coffee. My friends own that one. It's like another coffee company.
Nice plug.
Sorry.
That's my friend's great, fantastic
Peter Neal's
coffee.
company. They just love. I forget what it's called. Oh, Clink Coffee. And it was run by like all the formerly incarcerated. And so I actually met this woman who had been to the prison for the same sentence as me. And she ended up helping like my mom, my dad, and just give me some very real guidelines for what I was about to experience. So that was also really helpful. So I was definitely nervous and afraid, but not as afraid as I was if I hadn't had met her, basically. Yeah.
And what's the communication channel like? Like, so you're in with that officer, you're clearly admitting to fault. What's the first time you talked to Dad after that? What does that look like?
I think it was when I was I had my bail hearing, I think at the court on the Monday.
Yeah, well, we knew when we found out she was arrested, and I just had a sixth sense. I kind of had an idea what it might be about, just because up until like Emily had, to me, in terms of a parent, fallen off a cliff in Toronto, and it was living a life that was not, it was not going to be beneficial for her. Anyway, so when I just had a sense, a sick sense, not a sixth sense,
both
of where things were going, and anyway, that was the first, and we knew she was going to be, into the provincial holding cell in Milton, which is a horrific place. And fortunately, she was there a very brief time, and we went to see her for the first time after she was arrested. We saw her there, and then we. I don't know how long you ended up in that location before, because we had. Yeah, the timing's a little a bit of a blur now.
10 years, 2015 when I was arrested.
Yeah,
so a decade.
But it's, anyway, that facility there was an eye-opener for all the wrong reasons. You have an idea of kind of what incarceration looks like or what prison looks like. But when you're inside it for the first time, and that was my first exposure to kind of being inside a provincial corrections facility, and it is... to me, it's nightmarish, and you wonder how people can come out better from that experience, regardless of what you're being charged with. But we just had to stay the course. We sought out again the best legal advice we could, and we just kind of began this journey of hearings and house arrest and all these kind of restrictions, which were obviously part of the process and of necessity, I would argue, at the time, because it did put some limits kind of around. Emily had been living a pretty
free
life, pretty free lifestyle up until that point, and this was actually the first kind of steps to just kind of pulling things in. You couldn't, you had certain restrictions. And I remember, and I laugh at it now, but one point she was on parole, and
Parole or bail?
no, this was parole, I think. Remember, went to West Village.
Oh.
I took. We went to a
That was
movie.
ETF and,
we went to West Village. We went to a movie, and as a family, and then let's go to this place in West Village. Well, I didn't realize that one of her conditions was no bars, nothing. And once the officer, did I get raked over the coals by her? I said, I own this. This is on me. I just thought, we could go out and kind of celebrate the evening together.
It's just a jazz bar.
Clearly chose the wrong venue.
It was an escorted temporary absence, which
That's
is like when I'm
was.
still in prison, but I get to go for the weekend.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you look back on it like as a man of faith, and in a way, because some people wouldn't understand this, but like seeing the path that she was going down, look back and almost see what happened as a blessing, because like that path could have went so many other ways, and as hard as that was to go through, like
without question,
it saved your daughter.
It did. That getting, you talk about divine intervention of your person of faith. Her getting pulled aside for secondary inspection, to me,
Probably saved your life.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't doubt that.
Because like imagine you got
I don't know
through,
where my life would be. Like
that road wouldn't have ended. Like he would have.
I know.
No, because it was getting really sketchy.
nasty.
Even just from what I was hearing through my wife at the time, and it was just very, very, very concerning because of her associates and the people that she was just kind of sinking into this netherworld, if you want to call it that, of that there. And once you're in, there's really few options for.
Yeah.
But I think the two big words that I think were kind of throughout all of that, one being forgiveness, two being redemption. And you mentioned that in your little intro, so I was actually happy to hear that. But that's what it's all about. And if you're a parent, there's a tendency, and not every kid is open to it. Every kid has their own personality, their own interests, their own fire, if you want to call it that. Fortunately, Emily was able to had that self-reflective piece, that as stubborn as she was in fighting it, because it meant a total wholesale change, and it took her a while to kind of process all of that. But if you can kind of support them with this notion that every person, if they're one is open for forgiveness and redemption, and that if you can kind of get to that place, then that maintains the lifeline in terms of a relationship with that child, and that's what keeps it kind of as tight as that thing might get pulled, and as hard as it might be to kind of hold on sometimes. If you can keep it there, then eventually the tension eases and the person comes back. And that's what you hope for as a parent.
Yeah, I'm so glad you guys did. And I'm fascinated by, use your words, Em's falling off a cliff, and then you get this call. What's the conversations and relationship like during the cliff fall, and then when you get that call?
They were sporadic, to be honest, because we'd seen a little bit of. Emily has always had this real independent streak. We started to see it in high school. I remember driving around Ancaster at 2 a.m. one weekend trying to find out what party she was at. But then this was a kid that would disappear on a Friday night, but she knew she had to read at Mass on Sunday at 5, and she'd show up 4:45, here, ready to go. And we hadn't seen her all weekend, and we were pulling her hair out trying to find out where she was. And it was, so that's what kind of.
I assume just rehearsing for Mass. Right?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. But, so we saw this streak kind of develop over those years. But, when you get to that point in time, that's when the relationship strengthened, because you knew you weren't going to let her go. That was never an option. But what does this look like now? You got a kid that's kind of, to a certain extent, fighting kind of maintain the freedom that she had built, even if it was the wrong kind of freedom. And you want to bring her back and point her in a different direction, but you just have to be there. And and as much as it leads to tension and other relationships, and it's hard. It's hard on everyone, because all of a sudden you've got 3 daughters, and now you're kind of focused on one, and because that's where the need is, and you just do.
Sounds like you got a good dad on your
I
hands.
know. He's the best.
He's a real one.
That's why I forced him to do this. I was like, people need to know more about you.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating stuff. And then, so now go to present day, because you guys, I mean, the first time I met him, you probably talked about your dad within 3 minutes of meeting. So obviously there's been another chapter of that relationship, which is today. What's that like for you, Em? What's it like having a dad like that?
Oh, it's the best. I love him. So, and I realized all the things that I did when I was younger, like even like reading in church, I use all those skills now. I learned how to speak in front of people and talk to people of all different ages. Like even though I was maybe, I don't know, a teenager, and I was reading words I didn't even understand half the time, but I was still doing those things. So all those skills were instilled in me at a very young age. And even working at the cemetery with people who didn't speak English, and it was like I got to learn so many great skills from our relationship. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And what's your answer to that, John?
Yeah, we're obviously, Emily's the one that, with 3 daughters, and I've got one has two daughters, and other one's got her career focus as well. But Emily, what I really appreciate from Emily, I get these random texts, like just out of the blue, because to be honest, I'm not the best communicator. Like I'm not the first one. Like, oh, I need to. Like I hear some other dads. Well, I talk to my daughter every week, and we have this conversation. I don't, for whatever reason, that skill set I have to still develop. Still working on. Still work in progress. But Emily is the one who has great spontaneous kind of. All of a sudden, there's something. How you doing today? Or what's? Do you want to go this? So the contact, Emily, I will be honest, Emily does a better job of contacting, reaching out to me. So that's very gratifying. And it's kind of, this is nice. This is good.
Yeah. So cool. And then just do the sibling thing real quick, because I think that's fascinating too. Because like when a family goes through it, the whole family goes through it, right?
Yeah.
What are things like with your sisters now? What were their reactions?
Really, really good. I mean, the hardest thing I think this year, and how kind of your charges your history or whatever can still impact you a decade later. Like when I was arrested, my younger sister wouldn't talk to me for months. And so I was like, okay, I loved her. I was very close with her. And so that was like, not like, I was like, I need to restore this. And obviously we're great now. She's obviously very hurt, embarrassed, and I was mortified, and I wanted to make things right with her. And so now we're super close. But this year she was getting married in London, and they just changed the rules to go, like, so you can't go to London if you have like a record now. They just changed it this year. So I had to tell my sister.
Like London, England?
London, England. Scotland. I had to tell, and I'm supposed to be a bridesmaid, and this wedding was planned for 2 years. And so I had to tell my sister, I can't come to your wedding now because of my charges from 10 years ago. So it's like these things can still persist. And she was actually great with it. And the entrepreneur in me was like, all right, I'll meet you in France. I can go there. So I met her in France after, but it was still very, very challenging, because I know that was, the most important day for life. And it's like I still felt like it was my fault, and it was my fault. But she was obviously great. But very close with, definitely close with my younger sister. Love my nieces, love my older sister. Yeah, we do family stuff way more than we used to, which is nice. So, yeah.
There you go. And then shift to, the entrepreneurial pursuit, because I definitely want to talk about comeback snacks. So how I know in my intro I covered it a little bit, but like, so your world's falling apart, and you're like, I'm gonna make some popcorn. Like, how did that come about?
So part of, I want to say, my substance use was actually initiated by like a eating disorder. And I knew that so I had like concurrent disorders for about, like, I don't want to say maybe 10 years even. So I went to prison. I was like, I'm not going to fall into this again. This is not going to beat me. And so making popcorn in prison was like my favorite thing to do, because, there's high tension, there's limited exercise, and things can go awry very quickly. And so I started making popcorn, and then people would chime in and like contribute like their little recipes, like when they were in like Max or whatever, and we'd use just random things that we had. So I was in medium security. So we had access to like a little kitchen that was like provided by the prison, where you could, sorry, not like a kitchen, like a store. And so you had like a budget. You could get like $36 of groceries a week. And then you could also buy stuff off the canteen with your own money.
You bought popcorn.
Yeah, and I bought kernels out the canteen, and then I'd use stuff that I could get from the prison store to like make things, and then people would chime in, and we talked about jobs and employment. And what I realized in prison was that everyone in there like really wanted redemption. I'm not everyone, but like the people that I talked to, like you realize that something wrong is going on in their life prior to that. Like there's most people don't just wake up and want to do something wrong and harm other people or whatever it is. But it's so hard to get another chance, even though you've done your time. It's like you're still condemned by society, and that doesn't just hurt like society because it puts people at risk if people can't get a job. It also like, the economy, like there's businesses like, and with Comeback Snacks, I was like, maybe I can hire people and prove that we are worthy of second chances and prove all these myths wrong. Because I wanted a challenge, and once I get a new challenge that I can focus on, it's like I don't let go. I'm like a pit bull. So I was like, okay, I'm going to prove this. And I know it's going to be hard. I'm going to get a lot of naysayers, but like not telling the truth as to what happened to me, like that would make the whole thing worthless. Right. And I also knew that no one's going to cancel me in the future. So, because we do live in that world too. So might as well just come out and say it.
Yeah. Be authentic.
And just own it. And doing that was like the best thing that I ever did. And despite the challenges, but those naysayers have gone quiet. So, because everyone wants to say something in the beginning, but I kind of just use that as, I don't want to say like haters were my motivators, but it fueled the fire that, and it's like kind of just like okay, watch me, like I'll do it, and it's been the best.
Did you start getting the business stuff going while you were in jail? Or
Yeah. So my current business partner, he came on as like a volunteer in the beginning, and I'd write these blog articles, and we had this like landing page that we put up. And I also read 82 books, and I wrote letters to all the authors. And I'm telling you, marketing hack, if you want someone to open something, send them a letter from prison, because you'll get a hold of them right away. Email has what, a 5% open rate?
If that.
Letters from prison, 100%.
Yeah.
So that's how I began to build this network of authors and like mentors. Dave Chilton's, I wrote an article called The Relatively Wealthy Inmate, and I based it off Dave Chilton's book, The Wealthy Barber, and I mailed it to his office, and he's been incredibly helpful ever since. So it's just doing like things like that, and people would send me in food trends, and then we designed the logo while we were still inside. We'd sketch designs back and forth and snail mail. What else do we do? So yeah, by the time I got out, and the prison actually let me out for a day because they heard what was going on. They let me out for an afternoon. I had like a security guard with me to go give out free samples of popcorn at this event, and I had to go back to the prison.
There's another
night.
Awesome marketing hack.
But
walk in with your own security detail.
Yeah.
Everybody's going, who is this? Must be important.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well.
Yeah.
In a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
And then what else? And then when I got out, so kind of like building all the fun stuff inside snail mail, like, and that's what people think. People think like, because you're confined, you really have nothing. But when confinement is just like a thought, it's not actually true. Like in there, I realized I had like more resources than I ever thought. Like I joined the music program, and I wrote 2 songs, recorded, produced 2 songs that were then played on CBC. Right. So it's just, you can do so much if you just open up your mind to it. And I made friends with all the volunteers that would come in, who I now work with. There's a program called Stride that would come in, and they'd give you cards, and you can mail them out to your family. And so now what I do is I send them Comeback Snacks to bring into the prisons to give out. So it's cool.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we see that in different facets too. And we talk to a lot of young men on this show and guys who are just trying to figure out how to get an idea off the ground. But the common theme that we always hear is, why don't you just do it? Mm-hmm. Like, do it with the resources you have. Do it now, because there isn't a better time, and then just start going.
Make the mistakes and figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like we always shout out to Finding Nemo, that Dory quote about the just keep swimming. Like that's the one where every time I'm like, no, if you just keep swimming, it's probably out there for you. And then so you get out, and then Is that when you started to get the real traction? Because I know you're in over 100 locations now, and things are
1,000.
Yeah,
I'm
it's like 1300 it said or something.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Business
Maybe
is
probably more.
popping right now. So how did that?
Business is popping. Jesus.
How did,
Is that your
Dad
joke?
joke is brought to you by
so
by Comeback Snacks.
that's it. So how did that go? So you get out and you hit the ground running.
So I had to actually get a job with a paycheck because that's one of the conditions. Like they don't just want, people who've been in prison to just hop into some entrepreneurial venture, given, that most of them are in there for an illegal entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah, especially if it's just a kernel of an idea. I mean,
Yeah. So what I did was like, okay, what other places are synonymous with rebirth or second chance? I was like, the gym. And I was like, I've always been very active. So I took I made what I call the prison resume. And it had all the jobs that I had while I was in prison. So it was like gardener, like mechanic. I did all these jobs in prison because I wanted to learn how to drywall. I learned all these things. And so I took that to the gym and I had my inmate number on it. And I was like, to be honest, I just got out of prison. I'm looking for a second chance. And I've always loved fitness, but this is my real story. And they gave me the job on the spot. And so while I worked at this gym near the halfway house, they also let me do like little events at the gym when they had open houses and give out the popcorn. And I shared the story with the media. And I'm glad that so the halfway house was actually in Hamilton, which is where, I was born and raised. And so people could relate to me, the Emily that they knew, not like the Toronto Emily, like, that person was, I don't even know, whatever, a phase. And so I worked with this reporter from the Hamilton Spectator who I actually went to high school with. And she made sure that the story was told like on my terms and not like on these like, bad criminal terms.
Right.
So it was 8 pages long and it was one of the most read articles of the entire year.
Mm.
So it was told for, like from the very beginning how this happens and what's happening now. And then that got picked up in the Toronto Star. And then I did like Vice and CTV Morning Show. And so just kind of went from there. And within the first 6 months, we had our first hire. It was another person that had been incarcerated. So and I always call it a community built business because I couldn't have done it alone. Like there's people that donated product, that donated packaging, that like let us use their space for free. And everyone just wanted to help. And so that's why I say like definitely community built and continues to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people do when you go back to that authenticity piece, like if you lead with that, if you tell your story up front, it's amazing how many people will, show support, show empathy. We say the same thing too when people are always asking about like, how did you get those mentors? Like your example is great about sending letters to authors and like, how do you ever make those connections? And the honest answer is like, just go for it. Yeah. If you just find somebody you want to learn from or you're inspired by a book they wrote or a talk they gave, like just reach out authentically. And it's like most people are okay to help.
Yeah.
And most people want to see other people do well if they understand who that person is. And that's that authenticity piece too, right? Mm-hmm. So I had a few questions about that I just kind of want to hear your perspective on. And one of them was if you could rewind the tapes and talk to 25-year-old Emily just before this happened, what do you say to her?
I hate this question.
Yeah. I know. I got to know.
What would I say? I said, buckle up. It's going to be a rough ride. That people asked me if I would have changed anything. And I said the one thing I would change was like my family were innocent victims. But I honestly think I had to go through this I had to, right? And I think I still call it the easy way out. Absolutely. Because there's a lot of people that are incarcerated. They don't have the family support, and they suffer tremendous abuse in their lives. And there's substance abuse all throughout the family. And their family is convincing them to commit crimes. And my family was the complete opposite. So that's what I'm eternally grateful for. And so I'm honestly very, appreciative of them. But yeah, that's what I would change is they didn't deserve any of that.
It's crazy to say that like you were super lucky to get caught your first time, right? Because like the worst thing would have been you get through and then you're stuck in that cycle for a while and like it could have gotten so much worse.
Yeah.
Like you're super lucky to get caught the first time.
Yeah. It was a downward spiral without question.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, just as things were, falling off the cliff or the precipice, she was caught. Yeah. And that was, again, a blessing.
And to own
One hit wonder.
Yeah. And to say, hey, that was the path that it was, like, I wouldn't change a thing because, like, I owned it, I learned from it, and I'm here. I'm crushing it, right?
Yeah, there's a great image, and I picked this up. It's not mine, but it's really apt. If you're driving a car, the front windshield is one size. The rear view mirror is another. And if you focus too much on the rear view mirror, you do have to just check occasionally. But if you focus too much on the rear view mirror, you end up in the ditch. But the front windshield is of a size because it gives you much wider and a broader perspective. And that, for whatever in that imagery, that metaphor, if you want to call it that, really sticks or really has meaning for me, because it just means, yes, everyone has a past. And there's going to be incidents and episodes that you look back and with regret or with maybe sadness or whatever it is. But if you're focused on the future and focused on what can be and not what was, then you opened up a whole world of possibilities.
Yeah. Shout out Jelly Roll. That's Jelly Roll's quote.
Is that?
I met him.
Yeah.
I gave him a bag of my peanut butter and jelly popcorn.
Okay, that's who it was. Good. Thank you for that.
There's a reason that the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror. It's because everything in your future looking forward is more important than the things in behind you.
Yeah, and I also think now I have like the toolkit to deal with more things. Like now I've been through prison, and like now I have like the comeback blueprint basically. So because it's not going to be the last time something happens, or whatever. Like you're going to lose people in your life. Things are going to go wrong in business, wherever, and you're going to feel the pain from that. But you just can't necessarily turn to what I call Botox for the soul. So,
how do you go through choosing who you want to bring on board to be on your team? Like you're hiring.
Well, the finance department chooses if we can hire people in the first place.
I don't think that's what he was asking.
No.
There's probably a lot of people that like want to ride your coattails and be on your team because you got a great message. So there's probably people coming out of incarceration that want to be on your team. And how do you decide who you pick and how you go?
Yeah, so it depends. I would say if the way they reach out to me, if they call me, and then because some people will ask certain things and then I'll never hear from them again.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it's people at events. I was doing a trade show a couple of weeks ago, and there was this company that came up. They're like, "Oh, we actually promoted your popcorn at Metro," and they came back to my booth 2 times because I was walking around doing other things. They're like, "Is Emily here? Is Emily here?" And they're like, "Can we please come? Can we please do more sampling and more promo for you?" So they stuck it out twice when I was there, and then I finally met them, and I was like, "Absolutely." So they worked for like another organization, I think, that hired them to sample our products. So we had never actually met them because we sometimes work with third-party providers. But I'm just like, yeah, I'll like work with you direct now too. So it's great, just taking like unique and direct approaches.
Yeah, people putting the time in.
Yeah,
the effort. That's awesome.
Yeah. One word for your journey so far. How would you summarize it? What's one word for your
kamikaze?
Okay.
No, that's
no. I would say one word.
Have you learned anything?
Tasmanian devil.
There you go. Whirling dervish. That's 2 words.
I want to say like fulfilling, but like because you actually take all the lessons that you've learned and put them into your future.
Yeah.
Is that a good word?
Fair.
Fulfilling? Yeah. Okay.
I'm not the vocabulary coach.
Oh, I don't.
I'd say blessed in a lot of ways.
Grateful.
Family.
Yeah.
Grateful.
Grateful.
Yeah.
I think that's a great
Grateful.
word. Grateful.
Well,
That's a final answer. Grateful. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah. And with Dad here too, let's put you both on the spot. I'm going to ask, what's some of the best advice you ever got from your dad at any period in life?
So this is something that he might not remember, but we were in like Jumbo Video when it still existed. And I wanted to watch a movie that was 14A, and I was not 14. And I was like, please. And he's like, Emily, just never wish your life away. And that's what has resonated with me.
Wow.
There you go.
So never wish for the future because it's going to come too quick. So never.
I think, didn't Jumbo Video used to have the free popcorn when you
It
walked
did.
around too?
Yeah, they
there's
did.
a theme here.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
There's a theme.
That's where it all started.
Yeah.
And the little yellow circle, and it said 14. I was like, I really want to be Ken. I was like, I can't wait till I'm 14 or something. So don't wish your life away.
Yeah. And what's the wisdom you'd want to impart if you had a microphone in front of you and a bunch of dads and other kids listening? What's the wisdom?
Pay attention to your child. We're so busy in life, and you've got other kids, you've got a spouse, you've got a family, you've got a job, you've got all of these distractions. And at the end of the day, aside from your family, those other things are distractions. They might have elements of necessity about them. You need to put food on the table. You need money in your bank account to a certain extent. But pay attention to your kids, because you need to. The world today is not the world I grew up in. I grew up in by comparison, a really safe world. And I see this stuff on social media today, and see how kids are, you see the mental health challenges in young people today, and it's an epidemic. So the best advice I could give in a room full of dads would be pay attention to your kids, get involved with their lives, set boundaries that, are good and logical and reasonable, and stay with them for the journey. Yeah, every child wants to be independent. Every child wants to gets to a point where they want to start to live their own life, and they think they are at a stage where they can do that. And oftentimes it's just a little bit early in the game to do that. And that's where they can get into trouble. So it's kind of walking alongside to the extent that child will let you. But I think as long as you stay interested and you just, even at a point in time where a child may not want the relationship with you, do what you can to maintain that relationship to that child.
Yeah. And then now we'll talk about your baby, Comeback Snacks.
Sure.
Aspirationally, or what's on the calendar? Where are you guys headed? Got any goals? Got any big things we can look out for?
Yeah, for sure. So you saw that kind of half of it, the new packaging. Packaging might seem so simple, but there's so much work that goes into packaging. I am telling you, this has been 2 years in the making. So we're very excited. We're going to launch all four flavors. We're also going to be launching 2 new sizes for category expansion. So instead of trying to expand all to the US and just grocery, which is what a lot of CPG companies do, and then crash and burn because it's the costs are just exorbitant.
Exorbitant.
Let's just edit that out. The costs are high. The costs are very high, and I've seen so many companies just crash and burn. Plus, it's so crazy down there anyway. I've had friends that don't have a record that are getting having issues at the border. So I wonder what happened to me. So we're finding that if we alter some of this and have different sizing options, we can fit into now gas convenience, food service, or hotels. We already do work in these areas, but the feedback that we've gotten from working with our vendors is if you do this kind of size. So working on the sizes, and then working on, I can't talk about it yet publicly, but a very special collaboration for next year that started actually when I was in prison in 2018. So.
Well, we're rooting for you. It's so fun to watch. And we're a huge fan of the product too. My girls are just obsessed.
And I love the slogan. The slogan's killer.
Yeah.
That was another thing. It's take all the words that people use against you. It's you're criminal, you're bad. I was
Put it right out there.
I did something bad. But I'm not a criminal every single day of my life. It's that was one of the things I did. I looked back and I was okay, I'm this old. How many days are in a year? And so I did that on one day. No, I had a DUI in 2009. So, but I've made my mistakes, but not nearly as mistakes as days that I've lived and done good things. So
popcorn's so good, it's criminal.
Made with conviction.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Made with conviction.
We have a segment on the show called Tell Us a Dad Joke. I wonder if I could ask you guys to tell us a dad joke. Whoever wants to go first.
Okay. Well, I was a director of cemeteries for a very, very long time, and I had a very important job because I had 75,000 people under me.
That joke's for the dying crowd.
But just understand this, I will be the last to let you down.
Okay.
Well, at least you said no one complains there, right?
Oh, I wouldn't go so far as to say that.
It's not dead quiet.
It's not dead quiet?
No, we get all the complaints are from the living.
Oh.
Why doesn't my grave look like a golf green? That's
You get a lot of dirt on them, or
no, they think they have a lot of dirt on me, actually, and that I've actually had a lot of dirt on me over the year. I have dug a few graves by hand.
After they complain, do they roll over?
Yeah, it's a tough thing to dig up like that. Yeah, that's right. We can keep going. How much time we got, Miles? Okay, you got to follow that one up, Em.
All right. Well, I just wanted to say thanks a latte for having us all on the show today.
Food service, coffee joke. So I'll open the mic to you for a sec. Is there any other plugs, any other shout outs you want to give? Tell the people how they can
Where do we find you?
Easy peasy. Comeback Snacks on Instagram, TikTok, and I'm personally on LinkedIn. And reach out anytime. And my incubator is called comebackcatalyst.ca. If you or someone has been incarcerated, has a criminal record, and wants to learn how to start a business. So there you go. For free.
You have any other speaking engagements or big events that you're a part of coming up?
Oh my gosh, I don't have my phone here, but I definitely do. But they will be announced though, for sure. Yeah.
Anything you want to share too, we'll get Miles to throw it up when the episode drops. And just want to say thanks to you guys and thanks for being our first
Well, thanks for having us.
father-daughter duo in studio. How fun is
You
that?
brought back a lot of
Nice little therapy session.
memories. It was.
Hey, it's pretty powerful.
I had
story.
thankfully forgotten a lot of that.
Way to go. Way to go.
Oh, no.
Thanks for bringing it all back up again.
Dad's going to therapy tonight.
That's what we do here at Shit My Dad Taught Me. So we'll sign off, but thank you guys again. Huge fan of what you're doing. We'll follow along, and obviously we're so thrilled to have you guys. So thank you for the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keep crushing it.